Welcome to the Gutsy Podcast, the show where you learn how to own what you actually want and shift the mind junk that's been holding you back. I'm Laura Ora, keynote speaker, coach, and your guide to help you get clarity, build confidence, and make the gutsy moves that change your life. Each week, I'm going to help you simplify things by teaching you how to get out of your head while stepping into action. This way you can achieve all those life shifts that you've been overthinking. Your desire? That drives you. But gutsy? That's what gets it done. This is the 500th episode of the Gutsy Podcast. How on earth am I even saying that? For the last 6 years, I've been bringing you weekly episodes to help you get clear about what it is that you want, to shift all that crap that happens in your head that tries to talk you out of your great ideas before you get started, and then breaking down your one next step into simplified, practical ways to move. I've interviewed over 200 guests from around the world, and there's now over 270 hours worth of content here on the show. But you know something I realized? You might not know the backstory. So the 500th episode is taking you way back to the beginning, 11 years ago, where the Gutsy brand originated. I'm sharing what led me to start the podcast in the first place, how much I spent on my first set of equipment, and how we've grown to become a top 1.5% podcast globally. If you want to support the show in a whole new way so that we can continue to put out this amazing content, there are two very simple yet very profound things that you can do. First is sharing the podcast with your friend. Whether it's an episode or the podcast as a whole, that simple act of copying the link, pasting it into a text or an email, and sending it to a friend, your colleagues, your neighbor, the lady you met at the line in the grocery store. This is truly one of the most profound ways for new listeners to find the show because people love a good referral. They want to know that someone else has already tested the water before them. You've got a similar vibe, so they know if you like it, then they're going to like it. I mean, it's just goodness all around. So I challenge you today to hit pause right here, copy the link to the show, and send it to 3 people that come to mind first. The second thing that you can do that has a huge impact is by leaving a review. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all the places where you listen to podcasts, they love testimonials because it tells them that there are real people gaining real value from the shows that are hosted on their platforms. And when you leave a review, it helps to boost it on the algorithm. It helps to get it in front of other people. Enough reviews, they make suggestions for new listeners. And it's kind of like reading a book. You want to know what other people are saying. So like I listen to books on Audible. I want to go see the reviews. If I'm not super familiar with the author or what's going on, or if this is a good book, I go to the reviews. People do the same thing for podcasts. Is this worth my time? Am I going to get value out of this? What is the vibe of the show? And when they go to the reviews and they see your lovely words and your experience and what you're taking away from it and how it's impacted your life, it helps them go, you know what? That's exactly what I'm looking for. I'm going to hit subscribe. If every listener did those 2 things today through this 500th episode, imagine the ripple effect that we would have helping other women to make gutsy moves, to go after who they really are, what they actually want, to empower them, to give them actual practical ways to move, to take steps forward, to be able to focus and simplify. Friend, you know that's what I'm here for. I'm here for you to win, to love on yourself, to believe in yourself, to not feel so damn alone on this journey that you're on, whether it's through your business or your career or relationship or health or your finances, whatever you are moving on and towards and through. I'm here to remind you that you can fucking do this. You're not here to do this alone. And that we are all human beings. It's why I share vulnerable stories. It's why I tell you all the times that I fuck up, because this is not a perfectly curated Instagram grid here. This is real life with real stories, with real ways to actually fucking do stuff. So those 2 things help to get this message and this vibe and this energy in front of more women. Friend, we need more women to stand up for themselves, to speak up for themselves, to take up incredible fucking space because they're smart and talented and have so much to offer, but the world and the shitbags in their life have told them otherwise. Not on my watch. Okay? Not on my watch. So if you can pause, do those two things for me, I would super appreciate it. And then let's come back and get into the goods of this 500th episode. Okay, now that we're back, now we're in this. First, I just have to say, holy shitballs. Like sometimes I blow my own damn mind. I'm like 500 episodes. I actually have to tell you for a second though, at a glimpse, like there was a moment where I was like, oh, 500, that's actually not that many. And then I was like, Laura, you fucking dumbass. Like 500 episodes? I had to go fact check myself and give myself a little bit of a reality check here. So I pulled up the numbers and the stats show that 90% of podcasts don't make it past, you ready for this? Three episodes. And then beyond that, another 90% don't make it past 20 episodes. Now listen, absolutely zero shame to any of those podcasts because it's a lot of work. A lot of times people think I want to air a podcast, and this happens a lot with business too. I want to start a business, and then you're excited about it, you plan for it, you get into it, and you realize, oh my God, there's a lot of work with this, and not because I don't want to work, but just because I don't know if it's for me. A lot of times they'll get into it and realize like maybe this isn't the tool that I like. I don't have enough time to dedicate to this. I mean, there's a bajillion different reasons. So I'm not sharing those stats to be like, I've made it to 500. I'm sharing it to be like, hey, listen, this fucking stuff is hard. It takes a lot of time. It's essentially a full-time job. And oh my gosh, I committed to this for me. I committed to this for you. I love podcasting because it allows me to use my voice. And guess what? This is my own damn platform. So I get to take up every ounce of space and be as weird and as vulgar and as sailor cussing as I want to because this is my space. And the more that I am me, the more you show up. And whether you have listened to 5 episodes or you have listened to all 500, you have gone on a journey with me. You've likely heard the evolution of my voice and my message. You've probably heard my confidence grow, my vocabulary get more free-flowing, my lovingly blunt rawness really come to life in a way that calls you forward. And so I thought today would be just so nostalgic and very celebratory to tell you the backstory. Like, where did the Gutsy brand come from? How did I get into this? Like, was I always setting out to do this? No. Quick answer, no. It found me. And if you've been listening to the podcast for a really long time, you've probably heard bits and pieces of this story. So let's go way back in the archives, okay? We're going circa 2014. I would have been 29? 29? At the time, I was running my branding agency. We had an office by this point. We had a full staff. I mean, that was pretty much a well-oiled machine. And we worked with, I would say 90% of the people we worked with were entrepreneurs. So they were small business owners. And something that I started to notice was after we had our regular meeting about branding and what we were doing with them, the owners would often pull me to the side afterwards. And I'm like, okay, this is interesting. It wasn't just one, it wasn't just 5. It was like almost every single one of them. And what I noticed was they were all pulling me to the side to have the behind the scenes conversation that they couldn't talk to anybody else about. The big ideas that they had that everyone in the world thought that they were batshit crazy over. The rough patch that they were going through in their business that they couldn't talk to their employees about. The stuff that they were nervous about that they couldn't talk to their spouse about. I mean, that maybe they could, but they just didn't understand them. They were all wanting to be seen, to be heard, to be validated, to be encouraged. And more often than not, those business owners would leave my office crying. Not because I broke their heart, but because they actually were able to let it out, to release it, to know that they were not the only one. There were so many of them that were like, what is wrong with me? What am I doing wrong? What am I fucking up? And it was in these very vulnerable conversations that everyone started to realize like, hey, I'm not the only one. And after probably a couple of dozens of these, I started to notice, I'm like, okay, first of all, this is a regular occurrence. Second of all, I thought I was the only one that had these thoughts and feelings and emotions, but it turns out all of them do too. I realized that I really came alive in these situations. I don't know why. I don't know why. I mean, I kind of know why. I was born to walk into vulnerability with my fucking whole chest. I nerd out about humanizing the real shit that we are all experiencing, the real big ideas and scary things and elaborate plans and colorful paths that you see. Like, I want to talk about all of it. So I'm coming alive. They're feeling validated and have a plan to know what to do next. I'm like, hold on. If I'm feeling like this and they're feeling like this and I feel alive helping them, I wonder what we could do with this. I wonder what this is, what it could become. I wonder if other entrepreneurs also feel this way. Spoiler alert, fast forward 6.5 years. And yeah, every entrepreneur feels this way. In fact, every woman feels this way. Every leader feels this way. It's not just about business ownership. It's about life and career transitions. That space in between when you're feeling called to make a change or grow something or do something new or completely flip the fucking table over. So after quite a while of this, I don't know, this probably went on for a couple of years, I started to wonder what I might be able to turn this into. In case you don't know, I am a seed planter. And when I get an idea for something, and it is a full body hell yes, or there is a ton of curiosity, or I know it's meant to be something bigger than what I can even wrap my head around, I will play the long game. This is one of those characteristics that really comes into play and has aided in my success, in my freedom, in my ability to make decisions more times than I can even count or put on paper. So when everyone else is like, oh, I've been doing this for a month and it's not taking off, so I'm not going to do it anymore. I'm like, it's been 10 years. And I'm just standing over here watering my fucking garden. This was one of those ideas where I'm like, I don't know what it is, but there's something bigger to this. And so I started to imagine what it might be. What did I like about the situations with these people? What did I enjoy about it? What did I feel alive about it? And what it came down to was having raw conversations. It wasn't fancy. It wasn't elaborate. It wasn't scripted at all. It was just real ass conversations about real ass stuff. And so I started to think, maybe I could interview people. What if we intentionally set up this space? If I had people come in and I asked them these questions and then I shared it, like we recorded it, we could put it out into the world because, I know that if they're feeling like this, other people must feel like this. So let's amplify this. Let's do more of this. Now, because I have a branding background, that always comes into play. And so one of the things that I started to think about too was like, how do I want this to look? I want it to be casual. I want it to be comfortable. And I maybe want it to be a little bit colorful. And I thought, what is more comfortable and casual and intimate than having a deep conversation while sitting on a couch? Now, allow me to toot my own horn for a hot second and a half that I was interviewing people on couches before it became a fucking fad. So let's just put that out there. Trendsetter over here. The interesting thing about this is I already had a couch. It was a green couch that I had purchased a couple of years prior to that. My husband and I had been walking around furniture stores one weekend looking at stuff, and we came across this green couch. And I remember seeing it out of the corner of my eye, and I was like, I gotta go look at that. First, it was our brand color. Okay, so it just naturally got my attention. But as I got closer to it and I started looking at it, I got that feeling. Right? That feeling like, I don't know, there's something about this couch that I need. I'm getting a vision. I'm getting that kind of intuitive tug. And I stood there and I overthought it. I was like, no, this is silly. I don't have a need for this. Our office is so small. I don't have a ton of space for it. I'm just going to ignore it. I'm going to let it go. Let's move on with our lives. I didn't need it before we got here. I don't need it when we leave here. So we left the store without the couch. And a couple of weeks went by. And when I tell you that I could not stop thinking about this fucking couch, It was like my soul would not let me rest. There was no way that my brain was going to stop talking to me about this couch until it was in my possession. So after a couple of weeks of debate and a very loud brain and a soul that would just not stop, we went back to get the couch. Well, the couch was gone. Okay. Someone had purchased the showroom floor couch and we were like, okay, no big deal. We'll just order one. So we talked to a store associate. We're like, hey, there was a green couch here last week or 2 weeks ago. We'd like to order one. And she's like, oh, that couch has been discontinued. We don't have any more. And the sinking feeling I got in my stomach, it was like a pit just completely dropped out. It was like, I don't think you understand. This couch has a purpose. And she's looking at me like I have 3 heads. And AJ knows. Right? He knows when I get locked in with something, when I know that something has a bigger purpose, he's like, that it's done. Basically, it's done. So she starts calling local stores. Nobody else has one. She calls the warehouse. They don't have one. We left. I'm devastated. I'm like, I made the wrong decision. I didn't trust myself. I'm beating myself up. Something fierce. I'm like, I totally screwed up. Now, AJ being the man that he is, knowing the woman that I am, he's like, I'm not gonna let this go. So without me knowing, AJ starts calling every single Value City furniture store on the East Coast. I don't even know how long it took him. I don't even know how many conversations he had, but he eventually landed on one warehouse, I think in the way up Northeast, that happened to have one singular green couch left in stock. He had said couch shipped to our local store. We went and we picked it up, and guess what? The green couch was born. So I'll take a little side step here to tell you that if something is truly meant for you, it will work out if you are persistent, if you stay focused on it and you keep working on it towards it. Anything that's really meant for you will work out. It just might not work out in the way that you originally thought it was going to. This couch sat in our office for, I don't know, probably 2 or 3 years as a piece of furniture. But I'm telling you, every time I looked over at it, I'm like, there is a deeper story. There's something to be had here with this freaking couch. And when I found the clarity around, hey, I want to start interviewing entrepreneurs and putting this content out into the world, it was like all of a sudden there was a light bulb. I want to have a casual, deep, vulnerable conversation in a comfortable setting. And I look over and I see the couch and I was like, there it fucking is. There's the connection. We started to imagine the brand. We called it the Green Couch Project, which only seemed fitting. We brought in photographers, videographers. We rented a space down the hall. We have moved this couch more times than I can even put on paper. Like my husband and my father-in-law have moved this couch so many times that if I called my father-in-law today and was like, hey, I need you to move the couch, like I could feel the wrath of his eyeballs looking at me. He would come over and do it though. She has been moved into streets, onto stages. She's been in 3 different offices. The couch became a staple, so much so that when people came into our office, people were like, oh my God, is that the green couch? And I'm like, that's her. She absolutely is a her, by the way. And that's where all of this was born. I started to interview entrepreneurs. We had the raw conversations. In fact, in the show notes of this episode, I am going to link the very first trailer that we created for the Green Couch Project. I want to warn you, it is a tearjerker in the best of ways. The audio that you hear at the beginning of this podcast is the original audio from the Green Couch Project. I've always tried to graduate from it, but it always comes back into my world. Maybe someday I'll evolve on from it, but until then, it's nostalgic. So if you want to get all up in your feels and see the green couch and see the original conversations that I was having with these amazing entrepreneurs, then click on the link in the show notes because it's magical and it's less than 2 minutes long. Now, as far as where the Gutsy brand came from, it was also planted through the Green Couch Project as well. At the time, we had a copywriter on staff, and I tasked her with creating a tagline for the Green Couch project. And she presented a handful, but the one that stuck out the most was "Spill Your Gutsy." And, you know, it was a play on words, spill your guts, right? Like really like saying a bunch of stuff, but also gutsy was like talking also about your courage and your strength and your aspirations. And I loved it so much. It absolutely became the staple tagline for the Green Couch project. And then when we went to move forward with transitioning, this is where things started to transition. I knew that Gutsy had to come forward with me. We did the Green Couch project for a couple of years, and the challenge that presented itself was I wanted to do more of it, but it was not cost effective to do more of it. I didn't make any money doing the project. It was a kind of a side quest alongside the agency. So once again, I found myself at this pivot point where I'm like, okay, there's an evolution calling me. I want to do more of this, but I feel limited. I am keeping myself kind of stuck in a box thinking it has to be one way, but what if I evolve the way that it looks? What if I evolve the way that I create it and share it? And one afternoon I was like, you know what if I turn this into a podcast? I don't know anything about podcasting, but I could probably figure it out. If I do a podcast, that means I could reduce the cost of the production, because up until this point, it was literally a production, like a TV show set. There were lights, there was a photographer, there was a videographer, there was a staff, there was me, there was the person that I was interviewing. I mean, it was a whole setup. The podcast would actually eliminate all of that, other than me and the person that I was interviewing. Now, I'm not just trying to eliminate people, but I'm trying to figure out how can I amplify this impact in a sustainable way financially. And that's when I decided I'm going to turn this into a podcast. Now, anytime that I'm making a shift like that, I like to pause with it and sit with it for a minute to see what else wants to evolve with this. The way that I'm talking about it, the brand, the visuals, the name, the cadence, like how do I want to evolve this? And that's when I realized I think the name is ready to evolve, because the podcast, you're not going to see the Green Couch anymore. So carrying on the Green Couch project name didn't really make sense for the podcasting world, which is primarily audio based. Well, except for now, these days, a lot of podcasts are very visual, but we're not there. When I started to think about, okay, well, what name do I want this to be? I originally thought Laura Ora something or other. I thought about my name in different ways. And then I had this drop in. I'm telling you, this is the way my brain works. I planted seeds early on and I watered them. And one afternoon, I heard the word gutsy. Our tagline had been "Spill Your Gutsy." There was something so profound about that word that embodied fear and excitement, hesitation and ambition, overthinking and action. I mean, it just truly embodies all of it. And that's when I decided that this show needed to be called the Gutsy Podcast. And I guess at this point you can say the rest is history. I had no fucking clue what I was doing when I launched a podcast. I didn't have the right tools. I didn't know how to record on my computer. I didn't know anything. I taught myself through the school of YouTube. And I'm like, okay, I need something to record into, and I need some kind of program to record with. So I went to Amazon. I bought a $25 Logitech headset, which looks like a customer service or call center headset. So, you know, it goes over both ears, but then it has the little microphone that like swivels down on the side. You know, it kind of comes across one ear. And then I opened up GarageBand because I'm like, okay, I have a Mac. This is already built in. I just need some pretty basic functionalities. I think I can probably use this to record into. We created a brand. We figured out how to open up a podcast on Apple. We found Buzzsprout, which is where I host my podcast. Fantastic, very affordable. It's the hub that when I upload episodes to it, it spiderwebs and publishes it to all the major platforms. So 10 out of 10 recommend Buzzsprout. And you know what? From there, I figured it out. Those first probably 10 or 20 episodes, they're rough. The first second, third, probably the first 5 are so scripted. Holy crap, Batman. Not because I wanted it to sound scripted, but because I was afraid of what I was saying and how I was saying it and how it flowed, and I didn't want to forget anything. And then I realized this is not my method. Okay. It actually, in Powerback episode 250 that airs this week as well, I go more into the behind the scenes of the process of this, because once I found my own cadence, my own way of speaking, things just started to take off in a whole new way. So I have left, very intentionally, I've left every single episode up, because without day 1 Laura showing up, there would not be episode 500 happening right now. And I love and I appreciate her willingness to learn, her willingness to show up messy, her willingness to make gutsy moves. So why am I going to be embarrassed by her or put her down or shame her by taking her away? I'm going to let her take up every space that she wants to. And if somebody wants to listen to episode 1 and go the whole way through, then guess what, friend? You're going to go on a journey with me. I used that very cheap but very effective headset for the first 4 years of the podcast. As we were starting to climb the charts, as we were starting to gain traction, some really cool stuff started to happen. I did all of that through the original, very imperfect, very unglamorous tools that I originally bought for episode 1. So let me take a sidestep here again, a little lesson that I'm going to build in. Messy action will always take you further than waiting for the perfect moment. If I would have waited until I had the nice equipment or the better software or the better lighting, I would not be here having this conversation with you. So when you give yourself permission to take that messy action, to move forward without all the perfect stuff, to let it be simple, to let it be imperfect, that action is what's actually going to grow you to get to the place that you feel like you should be starting at. Ooh, that should probably be a quote somewhere. Now, here is the most mind-blowing, chilling part of this whole story. I used that headset for 4 years, loyally. It showed up, it worked, it was a little clunky, but you know what? It did its fucking job. It worked until it didn't. And it worked all the way up till the day, literally the day, that I found out that the Gutsy Podcast had ranked number 65 in the top 100 podcast episodes under entrepreneurship on Apple Podcasts. When I found that out, I had to record that afternoon. When I found that information out, I went to plug it in and to use it that afternoon, and it died. It was almost as if it was like, I have gotten you to this point, and now you must carry forward. Like it was this little old wise man. It made this heinous sound. It just stopped. Like that was the end of it. And I'm like, holy shit, it's time to evolve. And this next evolution is asking me to go deeper. I want to do more of this. I'm loving doing this. It's great for me. I'm finding my voice. I'm connecting with amazing people around the world. People are messaging me on a regular basis, telling me how much this is impacting their lives and their businesses. It's time to step it up now. So we went to the store that afternoon and I bought my new fancy equipment that I absolutely love. And let me tell you, it's actually not even that fancy. I mean, it's pretty standard podcast equipment. I've got a really nice mic, which makes the audio sound just chef's kiss. I've got this thing that it plugs into that then plugs into my computer, and I have a light. Okay, I'm not in some big podcast studio or anything, but it works so well. It was an upgrade from what I had. It does its job and it does it very well. I had just found it so mind-blowing that cheap ass headset carried me all the way up through having a top 100 podcast. Another sidestep lesson here. It doesn't need to be perfect for it to be impactful. You can do great things without having to spend a shit ton of money or go to the nth degree. Sometimes the simplest stuff is the most effective. That was really such a big turning point in the podcast. I had really started to land on my voice in a better way. We were ranking in charts all over the place. I got featured in Amazon Music as a top podcast to listen to. I had this new equipment that matched the level of the quality of the content that I was putting out. And I had just created a whole sense of momentum, all because I started messy. I listened to myself. I paid attention to those little cues. I watered that fucking garden. My friend, I have watered. Call me a hose, because I have been fucking watering some shit. And every single one of those little steps, those imperfect steps, those figuring it out, those crying because I don't fucking know how to use GarageBand moments, the times that I have recorded entire episodes to find out that the audio wasn't working and I had to do it all over again. The episodes that I've recorded in the closet because I was at home and the neighbors were mowing grass and that was the only place that I could record without you hearing the mower in the background. The times that I recorded in the middle of the night here because I'm talking to somebody in Australia who is in the opposite time zone as us. The times that I got yeses from a handful of celebrities like Marcus Lemonis from CNBC The Prophet, Tori Dunlap from her first 100K. Like, what? That little idea, that little nudge that I paid attention to now 11 years ago has turned into be a global brand. Like, Gutsy is a whole vibe. Dare I say, it's a movement. I had no idea that one day I would sell the agency and stop doing that altogether. I had no idea that using the podcast as a platform was going to help me to find my voice, to get in alignment with my mission, which is to speak and to coach. I had no idea that that little tagline that felt like it was just a little drop in the bucket at the moment was going to turn into basically my brand identity. The way that I show up, the way that I coach and speak with you. I didn't know it was going to turn into the Gutsy Collective, a community where I get to help and guide women like you on a daily basis. I didn't know that it was going to turn into my keynote, okay? My keynote that I get to speak on stages around the country on. Gutsy moves, gutsy women, gutsy leadership. Those are my 3 keynotes that I get to speak on to entrepreneurs and women and leaders and corporations. I had no idea that one day I was going to be paid to speak, paid to use my voice, the voice that I discovered through this podcast, the voice that grew and evolved from those side conversations in the middle of an office. I had no idea that eventually there would be over 270 hours worth of content on the show. Over 200 people interviewed right now. I also didn't know that it was going to lead me to speak on other podcasts, hundreds of podcasts about this same freaking message. I tell you this story because sometimes, let's be frank, all the time, it's very easy to look at a right now moment and assume it fucking came out of nowhere. That everything just worked out perfectly and things just aligned. Or my personal favorite, that it just happened quickly. Okay, there clearly nothing quick about this. We're talking about an 11-year journey. Remember how I told you that I'm here to play the long game? My friend, I will stand. I will stand in something that I believe in. I will stand in something that I know is meant for me. And I will stand in something that has a bigger purpose. Except it's not about standing at all. It's about noticing, staying open, being curious, and moving. Taking one next step, figuring something out, asking a question, asking for help. I did not do all this shit alone either. Okay, I've had team members that have helped with graphics. I've worked with a podcast team in the past. I've worked with a production team. I've worked with videographers, photographers, now my husband. I don't think that people like you and I are afraid of help. I think that we are afraid of asking for help and getting it from the wrong person or having strings attached. And I'm here to tell you that there are people that genuinely want to see you happy. They want to see you succeed. And asking the right person for help, look, sometimes we got to go through a few. Okay? It's not linear. But when you find those people that genuinely want to see you succeed, it is a joy and an honor for them to help you. Friend, whatever journey you are on, whatever pivot you are facing, whatever shift that is in front of you, that tug, You know there's something. There's something shifting. There's something moving underneath your feet right now. A decision that you have to make, a risk that you have to take, something completely new that you're about to embark on. The way that you get all of it, the way that you succeed, the way that you find your right next answer, you find the next piece of the puzzle that's been stuck underneath the fucking table, is by trusting yourself, paying attention to those things that make you feel curious and lit up, and then giving yourself permission to move with it, to try something, to lean into it, no matter if it's just one tiny little peg move forward. Those movements on a regular basis eventually add up to your success, to the completion, to the clarity of what you needed, to the pivot that you don't even see coming yet. And no, it's not always easy. Never a straight line. I've never been on a single path that had any kind of meaning that was a straight ass line. But when you're locked in with why you're doing it, why is this important? How is this going to change my life? You're willing to go on that journey. You're willing to bend with it. You might be not so willing to learn some lessons along the way, but ultimately, what's meant for you will find you. But it's only going to do that if you keep making the gutsy moves. 500 episodes in, 11 years of speaking and interviewing, 18 years in business. Friend, I'm telling you this stuff is true. Take this as your sign to get started, or maybe even take it as your sign to keep going, because that messy middle, that hallway situation when you're like, I'm doing the thing, but it's not working and it's not going at the pace and speed in which I would like it to. I could do a whole nother episode on those. Those are the moments when your feet are at the fire. Those are the times to lean on your community, the people that support you. That's when you change situations and scenarios and you get outside and you touch the fucking grass. Put the phone down, close the email, go sit in the sun for 5 minutes. I hope that this 500th episode has reignited something in you to tell you, you know what, it is time to start, or you know what, it's time to keep going. I have to thank you from the absolute depths of my heart. Oh shit, here we go. Thank you for listening to me. Not just to hear me, but to hear something for you, to show up for yourself. Because while I might say something that makes you laugh, or I might say something that wakes you up a little bit, you're ultimately choosing to be here because there's something in this for you and you know it. Thank you for embracing my voice, my personality, my quirkiness, and my love of the word fuck. I grew up in a situation where using my voice was not safe. I was taught that I was too much. I was too loud. Sit down, shut up, be seen, not heard. Asking for something, sharing an idea, was often met with abuse. And so the fact that I spent the majority of my life staying fucking silent to now making a living off of my voice will never stop blowing my mind and amazing me. And it's because of people like you that are choosing to show up and you say, you know what? You're my kind of weird. You're my kind of raw. You're the kind of support and voice that I need in my life. It has healed a part of my soul that you and nobody else ever broke. Thank you for showing up for one episode or 300 or 500 or however many. I love you and I appreciate you. And I'm just forever fucking grateful for what you do. Watching you win, succeed, be happy, do the things. God, when I get your messages, when you're like, I did it. I moved forward. I took the risk. I left the relationship. I started the business. I called the client. I called a bill collector today. You know, like when you message me and you tell me those things, I genuinely do a little happy dance. This is what the Gutsy brand is all about making the moves that you didn't think that you could. And listen, if you don't have anybody else in your world that sees you, hears you, or understands you, I want you to always remember this. I'm one fucking DM away. In my world, you are never alone. Do you hear me? I believe in your happiness, your freedom, your fulfillment. You deserve every ounce of all of those things. Friend, we have done this 500 times together, and I fully plan on doing it at least 500 more. Who knows where this is going to grow? I could not see what's happening right here today 11 years ago when I got that initial idea. So if we've done this in this time frame, I can only imagine what we're going to continue to do together. And you know something? I'm pretty convinced that if I ever take this thing on the road, or if I do a book tour someday, that the green couch comes along with me, because she is royalty. She sits in my office across from me. I get to spend time with her every single day. And I can pretty much guarantee you that eventually my father-in-law is going to get a call saying, hey, she needs to go on the road again. Friend, thank you for listening in. Make sure you listen to this week's Power Back episode as well. I go through behind the scenes of some of the technicalities and some of the ways that I've built the podcast. I'm sharing my process, how I handle consistently creating content. There's just a lot of more behind the scenes. Friendly reminder to share this episode with 3 of your closest friends or colleagues that are coming to mind. Leave your review on Apple Podcasts. My friend, thank you so much for being a part of this. And until I see you next time, stay gutsy.